Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus. It's time for our weekly live Q&A where Patreon and also YouTube channel members can submit questions in advance, and also we have the live chat going on right now for YouTube channel members. So big hello to Caleb and also Mick. Thank you very much for joining us live. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I always like to check that one. So this is our weekly Q&A, as I said, and we've got a number of questions. Generally, they tend to be all around kind of the hot topics of the week. So we'll be going through them, and I'll also be jumping in with a live chat answering their questions. You can also use the super chat as well to ask a question as well. It all helps towards paying all the bills and stuff to help keep all the lights on and keep everything running on What's on Disney Plus. But yeah, so let's jump in. There's been a lot of news and stuff this week. So I've got a question here that's just come in on Caleb, but I unfortunately can't quite see it because it came in a little bit earlier. Caleb said, I was reading an article from The Economist where it said that US cord cutting is on the rise. Europeans are signing up for more pay TV. What are your thoughts? And is Disney ahead of the curve over there? Now, I do think, as far as this whole cord cutting thing, I think it's been building up and building up and building up. And it makes sense. It makes sense that more and more people are shifting over to streaming. Now, I think, personally, it's not so much just the fact that it's obviously cheaper than cable. It's cheaper than, it's just content. I mean, if you want to watch content now and you take away Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, HBO Max, maybe that was a bit different. You're not got a lot of content. Most of the content is being siphoned there. So you're getting to the point now where you're going to need them in order to actually have that kind of content. There's just, I feel like you need streaming. And I think once people got into one, it's a lot easier then to get multiple ones. And then I think it's much easier then for you to get rid of cable. And I think, you can see where it's all going. I mean, Sky here in the UK are like dropping channels left, right, and center because people are dropping off. And I think that's just happening everywhere. So I think during the lockdown, a lot of poor people were at home to try it out. And now it's just it's a standard. I think that's the way most people watch television now. So I hope that one answers that question. So let's now jump into doing some of the pre-done questions in advance. So we should start off. There was one I definitely want to start off with, which was actually Kaylee's question, which is the main one that kicks off the show. Since Disney is doing a 45-day theatrical window for most of its or all of its releases for the remainder of 2021, how do you see this affecting 2022 onwards? And are we past the days of $1 billion box office hits? Are they part of the past, even when the pandemic is behind us? Okay, so I think as far as let's take the thing of 2022. I think as long as the next sort of 3-4 months work as planned, I think it's just going to carry on right through 2022. I definitely feel like there's definitely some things there with this kind of moving forward with the idea of really this thing of the 45 days will really help kind of drive people to go to the cinema much earlier. And then if you don't want to watch it at cinemas, you can watch it at home, and it will really help drive up the streaming services. Now, it is kind of important to note as well with all those 45-day things, a lot of them are 20th Century Studios titles and Searchlight titles. So in the US, it doesn't really mean a huge amount because they're still going to end up having to go off to HBO Max first because the deal doesn't expire until some point in 2022. We don't know when the date is. Could be the 1st of January, could be the 31st of December. So we don't yet know. So a lot of the movies that they've got coming up in the next sort of 3 to 4 months, they can't really do too much difference. Therefore, they're going to have to keep the 45-day doesn't make a huge amount of difference to them. Most movies make most of their money in the first 45 days anyway. It's only really Encanto and Eternals that they could really have done Premier Access for, and seeing the success of Shang-Chi maybe makes it go, we don't want to do that. And then if you look at like Soul and Pixar and Luca, had they released them 30-day exclusive windows, would have that helped? I think getting that one on there for Christmas is a big boost for Disney anyway. So I definitely think that this whole thing with the 45-day window, I think this is what we're going to see going on into 2022 because the other studios are doing it. It makes the most sense. It makes movies feel bigger. It makes them feel better because they're in the cinema. And when they arrive on Disney Plus, you're going to be like, wow, that's just arrived at the cinema. And if you weren't going to go to the cinema, you probably weren't going to go see it anyway. You know, if you're at 45 days, most people have already been. You know, movies are very much like that first weekend, maybe second or third. But by that point, you know, a lot of people have gone off. So definitely feel like that is something that people need to be aware of with the 45-day one. A lot of them are 20th century studio titles, so won't happen in the US. Internationally, you know, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, Europe, etc. Does mean that we're going to be getting lots of movies. And it also, I think as well, is it actually boosts up Disney Plus. If like we're getting, especially with the Fox titles, you get them dropping in. You know, you're nearly talking like every 2 to 3 weeks, you're getting a new big movie. And that will help fill the void of like the content of, you know, like, oh, well, this week you're getting, you know, what would we getting? Well, next week in Australia, we already know we're getting Free Guy. Then 2 weeks later, we're getting Black Widow. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, you're getting Shang-Chi. And then, you know, this is where those movies are going to start dropping in one after another once the full release schedule starts going in. Because we've really only had it's only really July that the release schedule really started ramping up with the amount of movies that they've got, and they've obviously not affected that Disney Plus. So that one's that one. As far as box office numbers, I think the $1 billion box office movie will come back. I mean, if you look at like Fast and the Furious, that one has got, I think it's up to like 700 million now. So I think once we get the pandemic kind of over that one there, I think we will definitely see a $1 billion movies back. Whether or not we see a 2.5 billion, I think that one's way off. But I think $1 billion isn't a huge stretch, especially if the movie can get a Chinese release at the same time. I think that's going to be a key thing to get about. But also, you've got to remember, every country's different. Every country's doing different bits and pieces. Literally just before this one here, found out that in Netherlands, you know, they're going to be removing some of their social distancing in a couple of weeks' time. You know, things are changing in different countries. Everyone's going a little bit different. You know, vaccination program and all the rest of it. So there is a lot of good stuff going forward. I think there was maybe an expectation that we were going to be much further ahead than we actually are. But I definitely feel like, you know, there's definitely a good thing. But I'd like to know, you know, with the guys in the live chat, and let me know, do you think the $1 billion movie will come back? I'd love to know your thoughts on that on there. So we've got a few live ones coming in. For some reason, my software today is not letting me show them. But here we go. So John said, I can't wait till Disney have all their content on Disney Plus with TV film rights. That's good. Kaylee said, I know Spider-Man No Way Home is technically a Sony release. I wonder if they could be releasing that on a 45-day window too. They could do, but I don't know if it'll help them because they've already sold the first and second. The first window rights go to Stars for that one because it falls into this year. So they wouldn't really benefit. They could get it out on digital. But Sony are playing like a different game because obviously they're not really boosting up a streaming service or anything like that. Frank asked, could we ever see a Star get an FX on? I really would like them to kind of do something with the FX brand, but they don't seem to be kind of pushing that very much at all. They don't seem to be doing much with the whole FX branding on Disney Plus. John says, can you see Disney raising their prices for Disney Plus? Yes, I would say so. I honestly would view that if we didn't get an annual price rise, I'd be very surprised. Inflation, the cost of everything, you know, how much stuff in reality stays the same price? You know, your loaf of bread, your pint of milk, your bar of chocolate, you know, your DVDs, your video games, very little stays the same price without shrinkflation. So that's the choice. They can either not put the price up and give you less, or they give you the same service and cost a bit more. So I always go with the assumption there is a price rise every year, and that would be the best. I would say that with everything. Mick says the 45-day windows could be here good to get in on the streaming services quicker. I honestly do not think that. If you think back to when Disney Plus launched, in those first few months, we were getting movies 6 to 8 months after they've been released in cinemas. You know, I think Aladdin was 7 months. I think Rise of Skywalker was 6 months. Frozen 2 took a lot longer to get here in the UK. I don't think at that point is, you know, they're losing that time and people are much more wanting it quicker. But also they're probably looking at the box office that you know, people aren't buying movies the same way that they were before. So I definitely feel like that is something that people have to look at. Definitely think that's something that they're going to have to look at. Joe said, "With the New Mutants was a 20th century movie and then went to Sky first instead of Disney Plus." Yeah, you're gonna remember some of those movies might have been under old contracts and stuff. Because if you look at this year, we've had Summer of Soul and Nomadland have arrived a lot quicker. I think there is Sky does have first window rights, but I don't think it's exclusive. So that's the key thing they'll be able to get around. So there might be some issues like in the UK of maybe like Sky, they have to wait till Sky get it as well. But Free Guy is really going to be the first big test for the UK market to see what's going on with that lot. Steven said, "Is Walking Dead gone? Season break normally have 8 episodes." Yes, there will be a break at 8 episodes on The Walking Dead, and then it will be coming back. There's going to be 2 more batches. It's a much longer season, but it will season 8. I think we're only up to episode 3 so far here in the UK. John said, "I was thinking of going to the cinema to see Shang-Chi. Anyone could tell me if there's any social distancing in View Cinemas?" I went to a View Cinema myself. I don't think they've got any restrictions at all now. Check on the app. You can see where the things are going. I would say if you can, go during the week, early in the day, when the kids are at school. That should be your best bet. Frank Ham, how become Duncansville is on Star Plus internationally, but is not on Star nationally? It depends on the licensing contracts on that one. John says, "I think the $1 billion will be back next year, 2023 at the latest." I wouldn't be at all surprised if next summer. I think next summer could be the next big one. Joe went to see Shang-Chi yesterday. Thought it was brilliant. So I really enjoyed that movie. Frank said, "Could we see a Star Wars adult animation just like Marvel's MODOK?" I don't think so. I don't think Star Wars would want to go down the that line. Kayla said, "I expect Hulu to have a price hike, not only because they're migrating Hotstar, but they're planning more Hulu originals. At the end of the day, the cast have all got to make those donuts." Yeah, and that's the key thing. It's all going to cost more. I think once Disney start ramping up production for the content for Hulu Star, we're going to see a lot more of that stuff. John said, "When will the October release schedule for the UK?" Usually what tends to happen is on the US, they tend to come around about the 15th. Sometimes it can be a little bit later. Sometimes it's been as late as the 19th. So I'm expecting the US one to drop next week, probably middle of the week. It was at the 12th today. So maybe Thursday or Friday, we'll start seeing some bits and pieces. Maybe we'll start seeing we've already seen the Halloween stuff creeping out. Some of the originals, we're already seeing that information. So I'd expect the US one then, and then the UK one usually comes a day or two afterwards. It doesn't come out the same day. It's usually, so it'll either be the end of next week or it could even be the beginning of the week after, but we will get it probably pretty soon. John said, now we're getting the Knights of the Old Republic video game. What are the chances that the Knight of the Old Republic series will be replacing the Rangers of the New Republic series? I wouldn't necessarily say they're going to be replacing them. I think the idea with that is, obviously they're remaking the game. I'm really looking forward to this because I've been wanting to play that video game for years, and I've even got it on Steam, but never got around to installing it because it's an old game. Am I going to struggle with it? It's being remade, PlayStation 5, perfect. I'm going to jump in then. I think this is they could use it. I know that, but you got to think of Rangers is going to be a more modern show set around the Mandalorian era, so it's not set in the old ones. Hello to Baba. Thank you very much for becoming a silver member. Mick says there's still in Ireland there is still social distancing in cinema. Personally, I would like social distancing in cinema to stay place full stop because I just think it's nicer. There's nothing worse than going to the cinema and having to sit next to somebody. That's I don't know, if everyone could space out, it would make the cinema a lot nicer. The only thing that does get me with the social distancing in cinemas, they only expect it to go horizontal. It doesn't go vertical, which doesn't make any sense. Steve says Top Gun Maverick has been pushed back. It's almost 2 years. Yeah, they've definitely pushed it way back. They don't want to be messing about this winter. Joe said, when will they announce American double feature for the UK? And I'd expect when they announce the UK lineup, it'll be coming. Frank says, could we see some PG-13 horror movies for the US Halo stream? They have said there's going to be more stuff being added. I suspect there will be a few more bits and pieces added to get it in. And could we see the 30 for 30 films on Disney Plus since they're family friendlies? I don't think they need to do it on Disney Plus. I don't think it works the same like with Freeform for how that one works. Right, now let's jump back into some of these questions. Okay. Okay, so Connor asked, with the recent rumors suggesting that Disney may have penned deals with all free media and A&E for new content, could we be getting more factual British content on the way? So this has been something that's been floating around on the internet. I think it came from some forums. I've been doing a lot of research into this rumor this past week, and I can't find anything from any sources to state that it's actually what's the deal is. And so therefore I've had to be a bit like, I don't want, there's some deal going on because there's some shows from all free media on Disney Plus in the UK, including The Accident, Baptiste, Informer. So we're getting some like UK shows. So either Disney has licensed them short term, maybe they've brought some stuff. So I know they're working on a lot of unscripted shows. There's not really a lot of that on Disney Plus at the minute. So I think it's a massive thing that they're missing out on, the reality TV and the like the documentary stuff that's not National Geographic. I think we're really missing that content. Things like the D'Amelio show to me was like something that's really lacking on Disney Plus that I think could help fill the void in with some of this stuff. I think as well, it's just about that getting that European quota up. They need to get some content on there and also appeal to British subscribers. So there's not all just American stuff. I think, if they've got a couple dozen UK-made series, it just helps look a bit better. But hopefully we'll get an announcement regarding what all that's going to be about soon. Because I'd love to see just more variety. The more variety, the better. Connor also asks, it's not necessarily a question, but the mounting evidence that American Horror Story seasons 1 to 9 will arrive on the UK for Halo stream on Star. Other countries where Netflix stream American Horror Story, like France, Germany, and Switzerland, have 1985 the present and share some of the Disney Plus in Spain. The Star, I personally think it's going to be arriving. I think there's going to be a lot of that American Horror Story content coming up. Literally, me and my wife watched an episode of American Horror Stories. I think it's going to be coming into the UK in a couple of weeks. We had a screener for it. It's about a movie and they kill each other and they go. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I've watched 3 episodes of American Horror Stories now, and I've really enjoyed it. So I did say to my wife, I will be watching the new American Horror Story series, and I might even start binge watching the whole one because I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. So Aero G said, with 2023 being Disney's 100th anniversary, I can see Disney going all out on announcements, development, acquisitions to both celebrate and also show Wall Street and the industry how they plan to survive another 100 years. What are some of the things that they could see them doing? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. First off, I think we're going to get the Hulu deal sorted. I think it will get sorted sooner rather than later, so Disney can sort out what it is. 2023 would be a great time to, merge them two together, kind of have one streaming platform to have them all. Lots of stuff in terms of, I think, it's hard with the 100th anniversary of what they can do because they can't really go back to the old stuff because, some of the main stuff might be coming up. So I think just celebrate. I mean, they've already kind of lined up a lot of movies. I would like to see, more stuff like with the original characters. Maybe get that Oswald series out might be a good one. More documentary series. I know there's a few in that they've done in the pipeline. Just give us some history. Use that 100 years. Give us lots of documentaries. Have something happening every month. Do something like that. I think that would be a great way for me. I would love to see them kind of celebrating 100 years that way. So hopefully it won't be. And what they're going to do for the next 100 years, I think they think a little bit more short term than that. And finally, Joseph said, well, with the 45-day window, does that mean it's Disney Plus for everyone to watch? It looks like it. It looks like, I can't see them doing Disney Plus Premier Access for like 30 days, and I just don't see them doing that. I just can't see that one working out that way. But yeah, I think they want to boost up Disney Plus and get the lineup going. And if they're in much more competition with the other companies, they're going to need to do that one. Let's jump now into some of the live chats. So John said, I've heard that the Rangers TV series has been cancelled. There's been a lot of discussion about Rangers. There's not really been any official news on that show at all. Obviously, with the whole thing with Gina Carrero, it kind of put it into what they're doing. Have they got to rewrite it? Have they cancelled it? Have they not? We've really heard nothing officially since the Investors Day. So it wouldn't surprise me. Frank says, since IMDb is going to have the Simpsons movie this October, could it leave Disney Plus? No, I think IMDb, it's shared exclusive. When are we getting X-Men First Class and Logan? That's going to be depending on each individual country of who's got it. I think some of them are still on Sky and Channel, especially Channel 4. I think that's where some of them are. Joe said, when is season 32 going to be coming to Disney Plus UK? I don't know. We haven't got. I mean, we've only just had the announcement for the Americans getting it at the end of September. I don't think it'll be too far behind. It depends on what the contract is with Sky. I was reading. I was doing some research the other day, and it looks like the Sky Simpsons exclusive stuff. That contract was only for like a year or so. So might be interesting to see what happens. Or I think, yeah, it was to the end of the year or something. So there's going to be something happening there with the Simpsons, I think. I don't think they'll take them off. They're too big. All right, let's have a look. Baba asks, is Hulu going to be renamed to Star? Well, I think Hulu's got a lot of more of a branding, obviously, in the United States. I think personally right now, I would be quite happy for it to be rebranded to Star in order for it to match the rest of the world. I think that's just generally along the lines. I think it would be a lot easier if it was. I think Disney might want to get rid of it because it's not really a name that they like or they don't want to use. They could end up putting the Hulu brand within Disney Plus, but if they're going to make a big announcement, they might as well just shimmy it all over. I think Hulu's going to live on as live TV. That's my prediction. I think when they do this whole thing with merging in the more mature content, they might do it under the Star banner, and then like Hulu, you get Disney Plus within it. And I think Hulu will live on as the live TV for a few years and limp on that way. Okay, so let's see where we are on these live chats. So Kayla said, I hope Disney continues with physical media since streaming compresses the picture quality. I remember watching SmackDown Valorant Tenor on Friday, and the picture quality was amazing. Got to see the full details for everyone. Yeah, I think streaming obviously I think physical media, people do like it. I have kind of fallen out of physical media because I used to have like bookshelves just full. I think at one point I had like 5 bookcases just full of DVDs, and I've had them on Blu-ray, and I've had them on video, and I've had them on Betamax, and I've had some on Laserdiscs, and I've had some on HD DVD. And I got to that point where I think I just got fed up of buying movies, and the whole thing of having streaming is just so much better. The picture quality is better for sure, but in all honesty, I don't really notice. I'm still watching stuff in standard definition on some channels because I refuse to pay Sky for the HD upgrade because I just flat out refuse. Same thing for Netflix. I mean, I'm watching all this stuff in 4K on Disney. It's like I ain't paying any more for it. See what other live ones we've got here. John says, will the original Doogie Howser come to Disney Plus Star UK? I hope so at some point. I mean, it would have made sense to maybe have got it on before Doogie MD dropped. But I think if they haven't done it already, then maybe not. Frank says, could Alemaniacs come to the Cartoon Network in the UK due to it being distributed by Warner Brothers? Yeah, I think Cartoon Network's owned by Warner Brothers, isn't it? So yeah, it would probably end up there, or it might end up going to Sky because they've got a deal there. Kayla said, for Disney's 100th anniversary, hope to do a logo montage similar to what they did. Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Do like a something at the beginning. Ben asks, I'm pretty certain all of the American Horror Story seasons will be added as part. I think we're dead on. I think that's perfect. Frank says, how come Deadpool is on Star Plus here in Mexico, even though it's rated? You got to think with, they need to feed Star Plus as well now in Latin America. They need to kind of feed that what's going on. Ricardo said, when do you think a second theatrical Simpsons movie will come out? I think it'll be pretty good. I think they'll be much more likely to have one now. Disney are much more likely to fire it up because, I mean, that's just doing so well for them on Disney. It would be a great Disney Plus original if they did that. I think that would be a great way of doing it. Frank said, how come there is no F words in Sony's Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man is still debuted by... Well, I think Sony, the reason there would be like no F words and stuff in it would be because they want to keep it to a PG-13. Because if they have too many in there, it will go to an R, and then they can't make as much money with it. Steven said he could see Film 4 getting brought out. I think Channel 4 are in this like bit at the minute here in the UK. Is if they do get brought out, things are going to change drastically, because this whole way they've been kind of running just commercially doesn't make as much sense for how that works. Joe said, I see American Horror Stories episode 4 of the Santa Claus episode, but it was so bad I enjoyed every other episode, but not. I'll find out in 2 weeks. Was it 3 weeks? I think I was saying this to my wife because she was asking me when we can watch the next episode, and I think the anthology one is a little bit easier. I think for me, not watching the series, it's been actually quite nice getting in that way. It kind of feels like almost like a separate movie. Frank said, could Prince come to Star? It's on HBO Max in the US and is produced by 20th. Oh yeah, the Prince. Oh yeah, that's the one with the really bad like George. I do have a dislike for that series. It depends really on the distribution rights. It could come internationally if 20th Century have the rights to it. Ricardo says, did you consider posting in the blog updates of Disney Plus and Star Plus in Latin America? I have thought about it. At the minute, I'm primarily just been focused on the main English-speaking countries. That's why I mainly cover like the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, and obviously the United States. I do try to cover international content as much as I can. My problem is, especially with covering like Latin America, is I don't speak Spanish. I don't read Spanish, so I'm having to do everything through Google Translate. It obviously takes me a lot longer to do it. I do feel like with the Disney Plus original content, that at least is worldwide, so that kind of gets to a bigger audience. If I start then, doing, it's harder for me doing other languages, and then I think we're up to like 60 different languages now, or 60 different countries doing it. I'm trying to do, and it's my plan to try and do a little bit more coverage for India and all the Hotstar content, because I think that's going to be something that's going to continue to grow. So I have got plans in place. I'm trying to cover that a little bit more, and trying to get someone in at some point to kind of help me on that. So I am looking into all of these options, and then just like Star Plus. So I'm trying to cover as much as it is. I do check and try and get stuff up. But again, I'm primarily just speaking, just genuinely just focus on the English-speaking countries, because I don't, other than I speak American and Australian, so I that's the way I look at it. It is a bit of a thing with it. I'd like to cover more regions, but language is obviously a difficulty thing for me. That's ultimately. But I do, if I hear any news about anything like that, I try and put it out there. But Star Plus was it's a little bit of a tricky one. But my plan is to try and do a little bit more coverage, especially for other regions. But if I start doing like what's new on every country, we're going to have like 60 posts a day, and I honestly don't have enough time in the day to do that. But that is why I've been doing that one. That's why Hulu's been getting a lot more coverage. I'd like to ramp up a little bit more production on some of the content I'm doing for Hulu. That's on my to-do list. And I've got quite a few bits and pieces that I'm trying to get in sorted. So John said, I don't think it'll be that much Star Wars news at Disney Plus Day. I think there'll be announcements at Celebration's not till May. I think we will be getting information about Book of Boba Fett, maybe an update on what's happening with Mandalorian season 3, and maybe an animated. That'll be it, I would imagine. Let's have a look here. So, Kaylee said, I noticed that the 2023 is not only Disney's 100th anniversary, it will also be the 15th anniversary of Marvel Studios. Yeah. Barbara said, what if Disney buy 20% of ESPN? Well, Disney already own ESPN. They don't need that one. Kaylee said, speaking of Disney Plus Hotstar, Bollywood Hungama has reported that I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name, is collaborating with them. This is a massive deal since he's a big name in it. Is that the video where he's on the deck looking out over a load of people shouting? Because I did see this one. And I do need a few new sources of information on Bollywood stuff. So I am trying to get into this one. Again, it's all new to me. I literally was having a conversation with my wife the other day, going, "Oh, we're gonna." It's like, I've got to do a lot more research into this stuff. Joe said, "Do you think that Spooky Buddies will be coming to Disney Plus UK and Ireland? Has not been on the service since it launched. I don't know why that one's not been there." Frank said, "Like how in the new Star Plus advert they say we have Star Plus is your language, when in reality they're comparing Mexican and Argentinian accents." Yeah. Oh, and Kayla did say that. So yeah, I do need to do something up on that one. And yeah, so I'm trying to kind of do a little bit more coverage on the Indian now that I can see what's happening with Hotstar. Frank said, "I see on the audio options for Luca they have both English and English UK." Well, there is actually a lot of English. Really, I mean, we have English. Obviously, it is English, so it's come from England. But we do have differences with UK languages. It's quite often as well. What people maybe not on with is like a thing like Zootopia and Cars, for example. We actually have like UK celebrities do voices for some of the characters that are different to the US. So sometimes that can change the wording, and also there are some different terms of how I know, like if I'm typing and stuff. I'm much more used to it because I mean my friends and family always kind of said I should have been born in America because I tend to speak much more American words. But yeah, there are some differences in terms of, and also who might be actually providing the voices and how they're working. But there is quite a little bit of differences in accents, but also in some of the words that we use. We can generally, I would probably say we can understand each other a lot, but there is definitely a little bit of things going on that one there. Right, let's jump now into some of the questions that come in from in advance. Right, let's bring these ones up. Right, I'm going to try and run through these ones and then get back into the live chat. So Robert asks, when do you think some of the older Muppets content might be available? I think they've got quite a bit on there already. I think with this one, it's a little bit tricky with some of the movies because they're owned by Sony, but I do think they've got quite a bit of it on there. And if it's owned by Sony, they've done a deal with them now to bring content over, so we might start seeing that in the future. Robert said, do you think Disney will start dropping more library content with originals to maintain membership or keep it at the current drop rate? Netflix and Peacock are really starting to add much more each week. I'm curious if Disney might want to go keep up or do a different approach. The problem is with legacy content, there's actually a few different things that they can do, what they've got with it. So first off, they've got to make sure that it's up to quality. So that's the first thing. Is it in good enough quality? Obviously, if it's been on like Blu-ray or DVD or Amazon already, usually that bit's all right. They're then going to make sure they've got subtitles and they've got the audio descriptions and they've got different different audio versions. So they've got to make sure that's there. And also, this is the big one that I don't think some people, have they got the streaming rights? And also, have they got the right to stream it with the people that made it or the people that started it? Because sometimes those contracts don't include streaming and they've got to go and make new contracts and they've got to pay them. So it might be along the lines of, we're not paying you that much because they want a load of money, so therefore it doesn't arrive. So it's not just a one little thing. They've also got to make deals with the people behind the camera. Sometimes they get, some of the things haven't, some of the things have. But that is one of the key issues. Some of them as well, and if the actor or some of the people have been in it and have been kind of not great recently, that also can lead to problems with with why things are on there. That, and I think like Corey in the House might be a good example of that one. Stephen Bruce asks, when Shang-Chi and Legends of the Ten Rings coming to Disney Plus in mid-October? Yeah, it probably will come in mid-October. They don't want to announce anything about Disney Plus just yet because they still want you to go to the cinema. They don't want to put it out there because they want people to go. If they start hearing now, oh yeah, it's coming to Disney Plus on October the 12th, you might not go cinema this weekend because you'll be there, well, it's coming out in 3 weeks. So they're going to hold off on the announcement. Frank said, is it legally possible to Disney to disown Hulu now, or do they have to wait? I think as far as that's buying Hulu, I think they can do it anytime they want to. Maybe I think it's from 2024. They can, but I imagine Disney right now didn't really want to investigate into buying it out, with the pandemic and everything. They probably didn't want to do that one. Theus asked, do you think Disney Plus will fix it with the Europe being 1 week behind shows like Only Murders in the Building and Big Sky? I hope so. It's really annoying what's going on right now with the release schedule for some of the stuff. They're not being released it's why only murderers in the building, or only murderers in the building, is arriving a week later for us. I just don't understand it. They haven't announced anything about Big Sky yet. I'm hoping that will be pretty much on par with the US list. Frank says, could they make an annual tier for the Disney bundle? They probably could do, but I think it's a little bit pricey. That might be why. Also, with what their plans are, maybe they don't want to do it. That could be another issue. What their constant plans are, what they're going to be changing, and if price rises, that could be another issue. Frank then asks, will Star get live sports just like Hulu and Star Plus? I don't think so. I mean, they could do, but I can't imagine them doing live sport yet. That seems to be kind of something they're going differently with, but they do it in Hotstar, so why not? It was revealed that Ruby and Camp Camp are on Star Plus in Latin America due to an existing deal between Rooster Teeth and the Fox networks that applies in 2025. That's obviously a key thing as well. It's the existing contracts. Steven says, so the big news this week was Hotel Transylvania 4 has been brought by Amazon Prime and not gone directly to cinemas. And then the new Chainsaw Massacre has been brought by Netflix. Could more films get brought out by streaming services avoid cinema? Yeah, I mean, generally, I think like with Transylvania stuff, they've looked at it and go, will they make the money back on it? Or should they just sell it and make the money in one foul swoop? So I think it's a case-by-case basis of how much they think it's actually going to make. The problem, I think, as well with Hotel Transylvania 4 is it didn't actually have some of the big names like Adam Sandler. It's actually being voiced by Brian Hull, who does fantastic voice work. I've seen him in loads of YouTube videos, but it's that movie cost them a lot less to make, so they probably made a lot more selling it to Netflix. Steven said he's watched the new Cinderella on Amazon Prime, got it confused with Disney Cinderella. Does Amazon have to pay loyalty for Disney for the Cinderella franchise? No, because Cinderella is anyone can do anything with Cinderella because it's such an old character. There's nothing new. There's probably certain elements of the movie that they can't use, but the basic storyline they can do. It's like a lot of the books. That's why you can have things like Little Mermaid. They can do multiple versions because it's such an old book with no copyright issues. And his last question, and the last question of these ones, is Disney have done a 45-day after cinema come to Disney Plus. What's going to happen to Sky Cinema as they get the big films first? Are they going to try and get other film companies first? At the moment, for Sky Home for cinemas, it's just not worth it. Now, okay, so this was an interesting one because the thing is with all the Sky Cinema, which is a network over here in the UK, is they are losing so much stuff because obviously if Paramount are pulling their stuff for Paramount Plus, they've got to deal with Warner Bros. For HBO, but they want to get out of it as well. Sky are doing it. I think Sky Cinema are going to end up having to do what they've done in the US. They're going to have to incorporate everything into one big bundle because Sky Cinema is just not going to be worth it in a couple of years' time. So I think they are going to have to do something because there's going to be no one left to actually have movies on there. And if you're just paying for Universal movies, there's not going to be enough. Right. Here we go with the live ones. Just a quick note as well. We've got about 5 minutes left. So if you've got any more questions. Steve Bruce said, what Just Beyond come next month? Yeah, Just Beyond is going to be coming. I think it's on Wednesday the 13th. Kay said, I know that the first Harry Potter film had two different versions since the UK version had Sorcerer's Stone, while the international one used the Philosopher's Stone. Yeah, I think we actually get that with a lot of movies. I think Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales was Pirates of the Caribbean, Salsalar's Revenge here in the UK. Sometimes it can be copyright. Sometimes I just feel like whether or not the name is going to work. Zootopia became Zootropolis because of a copyright issue with a zoo that already had the name here in Europe, so they couldn't do that. So definitely feel like that is, we do get. I don't know why the Harry Potter one. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they felt Sorcerer's Stone would be better and it would sell better in the US, and when they released the book. But yeah, you do get that a lot with different movies. They get different names. For example, Ford versus Ferrari was called Le Mans 66 here in the UK rather than Ford versus Ferrari, because obviously Le Mans is known as a race here, so that's why they did it. But you get that quite a lot with different movies where they get named differently, and it's much harder internationally now where it doesn't help, but it did happen a lot more regularly. I think another Disney one was California Man, was what we called it here in the UK, but I think it was like, I can't even, it was something, I can't even think of what it was. Frank said, well, Brian sent me a letter saying that they actually re-add it to Hulu and Disney Plus Canada in spring 2022. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, and then we've got here, Ricardo said there is a Latin America, Mexican Spanish, and Argentina Spanish, which both have different accents, and Disney have made different versions of Pixar films. Is only on Disney Plus in the Mexican one. Yeah, see, this is the trouble. I mean, they do this. I mean, animation's a lot easier for them to do it for, but yeah, that is it. So that's definitely one. Yeah, Kaylee said, I believe the reason why it's taken a while for Disney to buy them out is Comcast shares Hulu, is they're trying to work out a smooth exit agreement, also assuming Disney Plus wants the Hulk films on Disney. I would imagine they'd be dealt with separately, but I think Comcast were hoping that Hulu was going to be a bit worth a bit more, because Disney are kind of not pushing the boundaries too much on that one. But yeah, they are going to want to have a smooth transition, also because they're going to want to get that content onto Peacock and sort out all the issues and stuff. But I personally feel like they need to rip the Band-Aid off and get this thing sorted, rather than drag it out for potentially another 2.5-3 years. Joe said, will more Predator movies and Alien movies be coming to Disney Plus in the UK? And I expect so. I said, it does seem that when movies leave Sky Cinema, they don't seem to be heading straight to Disney Plus. It looks like there might be a thing that they have to stay apart for a little bit. So that's definitely an issue. Seems that the person who did the podcast, with any plan to bring him on to do a Q&A, can ask him questions too. Yeah, we have talked about doing that. It's actually easier now because I can do it with the software that I've got. We can do it. He's been in a few times on the live chat, but yeah, something that James and I have talked about, because we can now do it easier than I did it on the old software. Right. So if you guys have got any other questions, now's the quick time to put it in. So I'll just do a quick bit of housekeeping before we head off. Again, thank you very much for taking part in this Q&A. As I said, we do this one each and every week. So if you become a Patreon or YouTube channel member, you can submit these questions in advance. I like to do a few ones in advance. So I always have this fear, and I probably shouldn't do it anymore, because I've never really heard, but I was always worried that no one would be here live in the chat. So if I didn't have any questions in advance, that's why I always did it in advance, was because I was always worried that no one would be in here, so it wouldn't work. But actually, it's proven. But it's also kind of nice sometimes to have pre-done questions that I can research a little bit and answer them a little bit more in depth. Because obviously with the live chat ones, it's a little bit harder. Baba said, Disney buy Hearst Communications stake of ESPN. So Hearst, are you, which country are you in, Baba? Probably help me, because if you're in Canada, I know like ESPN owns like 20, is like, it's a bit different there than it is in the Europe and stuff. Yeah, as far as like Hearst company, I know that they had to deal with A&E. I think here in Europe they had to sell a little bit, so that was why there's a lot. It's very messy of what Disney owns and stuff. C said you got a lot of Halloween items. I saw it on the Facebook. Look forward to see. Yes, I literally have them here. They are down in this box here. I've brought some Halloween stuff. Plan is to get it all up for the Halloween stream when it starts. I'm hoping we'll be moving into another room in the next week or two, and so I want to get it all set up then. I think Kaylee said, I think Bubba was trying to say Hearst. Yeah, so this is the thing. Yeah, so Baba, so you're in the US. So Disney owns ESPN Plus completely in the US. They don't own it with anybody else. So it is all of theirs. So they don't have to worry about it there. Right. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for all of your support, and I shall see you next week for a nice live and chat. Thank you again to everyone on the live chat. Thank you all for joining in. Great to see you all in here. Again, it's always nice to talk to everyone and just kind of, just interact with you all. It's such a great thing. So again, thank you very much, and I shall see you guys next week. Laters.